In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how long it actually takes for most men to lose the belly fat and to get into amazing shape. Now, why is this something that I want to talk about today? Because this is an area that I think most guys are the most conscious about. Having worked with thousands of guys now, one of the first things they will tell me is that they want to lose the belly fat and they want to know how to get into much better shape, see a six-pack, get there. Now, we need to break down exactly what that looks like, what the time frame looks like, why most men struggle, and what it actually takes, guys, to go and to achieve this, okay? Firstly, why is belly fat so stubborn? The way that you need to think about fat, guys, is that you cannot spot reduce. You cannot decide that you want to lose fat around certain areas of your body. Now, for men inherently, the belly fat is the last area to go. It's often around the belly, it's often around love handles, often a bit of chest fat can sometimes take a while to go. I actually find that with myself personally, my stubborn areas are more around my lower back. I find I always stay very lean around my stomach. Maybe that will change as I start to get older. But for me, I find that I'm a little bit more stubborn in other areas. But everybody's gonna be different. I will just say that most men, it is the bottom of their abs, the bottom of their stomach where they will start to lose the fat the slowest. And the way that you want to think about this, guys, is almost like a swimming pool, okay? So I try and explain to my clients. When you're draining out a swimming pool, there's a shallow end and there's a deep end, okay? Naturally, whenever you drain the water, it's always gonna start to come from the shallow end first. You can't change that, right? That's just the way that it is, right? That is the part of your body where fat comes off really quickly. Maybe you lose fat around your face fast. I speak to guys that say this quite a lot. Maybe it's around your legs, but the stubborn belly fat is the deep end. That is what is going to take the longest to start to actually go, and eventually you will lose it. Just like in a swimming pool, eventually the water is going to fully drain, but it's going to drain from the deep end at the end, right? That's going to be the last bit that's going to go. That's how you want to start thinking about your body when it comes to losing fat, okay? So how much fat do men actually need to lose? Now, this is something that I've really started to understand from having done this for a long time. And what I will tell you guys is often so much more fat than what people actually think, okay? I speak to guys that say, I think I just need to lose a couple of kilos, Chris, or I'd be happy if I just dropped a stone. And the guy might be 25% body fat, right? Or I think I might want to stay the same weight, but I know I need to lose a little bit of fat. It's not a little bit of fat. Realistically, guys, most men need to lose at least 10 kilos to see their abs. There are some men that maybe that's not the case. You've got a little bit of stubborn fat in a few areas. Possibly you need to lose a little bit less than that. But I'm talking most men that want to get into the best possible shape, get into, 10, 12% body fat, look insane, have the nice lean ripped physique. And I'm not saying that's an area that you would want to maintain afterwards. You can obviously get super lean, you can maintain on slightly higher body fat. But to hit that initial target, to hit the initial transformation goal, I think most men have got at least 10 kilos of fat to lose. And it's often more than just a few kilos that they think that they actually need to lose. Now, there are ways that you can kind of go about this. You can obviously look at your height, you can have a little play around with the numbers, and you can set yourself targets based off that. But realistically, this is one thing we always do with our clients at Fit Lab. We're super clear with that target at the start. We'll look at them, we'll understand what we think is a realistic target based on their bodies and based on their height, and then we will set them a target. And most of the time, we actually tend to be pretty accurate. There might be like 1 or 2 kilos out, but when we set a client a weight target and we make sure we hit that target, a lot of the time, that is pretty much exactly where they actually need to be in order to actually see their abs. So if you think you just need to lose a little bit to see a six-pack, I'm telling you now, guys, it's probably a lot more than what you think, which is fine, but you need to be clear about that right from the start. Setting yourself a clear target and clear date, I think, is actually really important when it comes to having a bit more motivation with your fat loss. Because if you don't really know what you're aiming towards and there's no real target or no real goal, this is when you can just start to get a little bit demotivated and you don't really make much progress moving forward. Because let's be real, guys, most men probably sit at around 20 to 30% body fat, okay? Most men want to be around 12, maybe 10, but 12 to 15% body fat, where they can see nice clear abs. If you're wanting to lose 10, 15, even 20% of your body fat, that is going to be quite a lot of weight, right? If you think that 30% right now of your body weight is fat, and you need to remove 20% of that, you will realize the numbers are actually quite a lot more than what you think. This is where I think there is a misconception of how much body fat men actually need to lose, okay? And if you have noticeable fat on your body right now, and you can pinch your fat, you can pinch your love handles, that has to go. You are not gonna get the body that you want and get in the shape of your life by just miraculously recomping and staying the same weight, unless you potentially in some kind of enhancements, which can happen sometimes. You're losing fat, you're building muscle, you're taking ped. That's a whole different game. I'm talking about for the majority of men, and that's, again, even men in that bracket will still need to lose weight. That doesn't change things all the time. But for most men, there is always going to be an element of weight loss that has to get done first before you start moving on and going through, you know, gaining muscle and understanding that next stage. So what is it that stops men actually getting there? Okay, why do men struggle to lose the belly fat? Why are men stuck? Okay, it is honestly down to consistency and patience. Like I said, guys, there is no way you can target belly fat. You cannot decide that you want to lose fat from a certain part of your body. And like I said, it is often the last place that men will lose. So you have to be in a deficit for long. That is all this comes down to. The reason why most men never get there is because they just aren't consistently in a deficit for long enough. They fall in, they fall out. Most men will probably do a diet for like 6 weeks before they decide that they need to stop again. That is honestly what happens. Most men cannot do it for long enough to see the benefits. So if you want to lose the stubborn fat, there's no cheat code, there's no magic pill that you can take. It's just how long can I do the boring, mundane work of being in a calorie deficit for long enough to get the result, which for most men, you are looking at minimum of 12 weeks, if not 16 weeks, if not 6 months. And if you are a big dude and you have got 20 plus kilos of body fat to lose, you are looking at probably about 6 to 9 months, if not 12 months, if that is the reality. We've had guys that have we had a guy that dropped 35 kilos at 54. I'll put his transformation on the screen now. Gavin, amazing guy. He's actually gonna do our second photo shoot in about a couple of months, 6 weeks or so. He's already done one photo shoot with us. Doing on. It took Gavin about 12 months to drop that much weight, and he's now been with us for even longer than that. But it took him a considerable long time. He knew it was going to be a long time. He knew it wasn't going to be an overnight or a 12-week success. He understood this was going to take him a long time, but he was consistent. We didn't change that much. We kept him accountable. We made sure that he was consistently doing the right stuff, setting his sights and getting distracted, doing the wrong things, you know, and seeing something shiny and thinking, oh, do I need to be doing that instead? We kept Gavin grounded, and he was in a calorie deficit, and he was consistent with his weight training, with his protein targets, with his calorie goals, with his steps every day. He was consistent with that for 12 months, and he lost 35 kilos, and he got abs for the first time in his life at 54 as a grandfather, dropping all that weight because he was consistent. Okay, that is all this comes down to. You have to have a dietary approach that you can see yourself sticking to for the long run. And if you can't see yourself sticking to it for a minimum of 3 months, it's not worth doing, guys. It has to be an approach to nutrition, approach to the training, the lifestyle that allows you to stay consistent for long enough to be able to get the result. That is honestly what this comes down to. And that is the biggest reason why most guys get it, because they quit before the stubborn belly fat falls off. They might lose their first few kilos, they start looking a little bit leaner, and then they get bored and they think, why have I not got the 6-pack yet? What am I doing wrong? And then they stop. And then they never quite, you see this, I'm gonna put this meme on the screen now. This guy that's digging for gold, right? There's these like 2 diagrams. There's like one guy digging for gold at the top, and there's one guy digging for gold at the bottom. And it shows that the guy that's digging for gold at the top quits just before he gets all the treasure, because he doesn't know how long it's gonna take, so he quits just before. Whereas the guy at the bottom is still digging for the gold. He's still chipping away because he's so close to getting the treasure and actually reaching his target. And the guy at the top just quit almost before he was there. And that is exactly the same. That is delayed gratification. That's exactly the same as what it comes down to when it comes to losing that stubborn fat. Guys get close, they maybe got a little bit more to go, and then they stop and they quit and they give up, and then they go back to square one again, and often they gain the weight back again. So you have to see it through, guys. If you want to get the 6-pack, you want to see the stubborn fat disappear for good, you stay consistent, you stay grounded, you keep within your calorie deficit, and you just keep working through. You might have to make a few subtle changes here and there. You might have to, you know, drop the calories a little bit if you need to. You might have to increase cardio steps, possibly, if a bit of refinement over time, sometimes that is the case. But if you stay consistent for long enough in a calorie deficit, the numbers continue to drop every single week, you will lose that stubborn fat, and you'll eventually start to see a 6-pack, and you'll eventually have the abs, and you'll look insane, and you're gonna look better than most guys out there, but you just have to stay consistent. So that is honestly the key thing. It is a stubborn area. It does take longer. It's not an overnight thing, but belly fat does not go in any other way than exactly what I've explained. It's not any different to any other fat on your body right now. It's just gonna be a longer duration of deficit, of dieting before you actually get there. And overall, the fat will go off your entire body. You just can't decide where it goes first. Overall, it will just go, right? That is exactly how this works. Like I said, I know my stubborn areas. I carry probably more of my body fat on my lower back than I do anywhere else. Over time, as I keep staying in a calorie deficit, everything starts to come in. I start to get leaner in my face. I start to lose this fat around my lower back. And then eventually, this is when I'll be completely diced. And that's exactly the same for most guys. We stay consistent long enough. We lose the stubborn areas. We get in amazing shape. So guys, I hope you find this video useful. And make sure you smash the like button, and make sure you hit the bell notification, make sure you subscribe for future videos. We'll be pumping out the fitness content now over this next few months, and I'll catch you in the next one.